Viktorija Gulobich breaks down, claims Coco Gauff cheated her. Those words shook the entire tennis world the moment they hit the internet. Fans were stunned, reporters scrambled, and within minutes, the story spiraled into absolute chaos. Because what unfolded between Gulobich and Goff wasn't just a tense match. It was a confrontation dripping with suspicion, explosive emotions, and accusations no one ever thought would be spoken out loud. Cameras captured Gulobich trembling, insisting a point was stolen from her in plain sight. And while Goff dismissed everything as nonsense, the controversy ignited a wildfire that refused to die. This is where everything began. The tension between Viktorija Golubic and Coco Gauff was even brighter, sharp, heavy, and impossible to ignore. From the very first rally, something felt different. Gulubich wasn't just focused, she was on edge, glancing at the umpire after nearly every point, as if waiting for something to go wrong. And when it did, the moment struck like lightning. Midway through the second set, the crowd watched a rally unfold that would later be slowed down, analyzed frame by frame, argued about on every social platform for days. Goff stretched wide, reached for a ball that seemed out. Gulubich paused for a split second, just long enough to raise her hand, thinking the point was over. But Goff kept playing, sending the ball back with a desperation swing that somehow landed inside the line. The umpire called it Goff's point. Gulubich froze. Her face stiffened, her eyes widened, and she walked straight toward the chair umpire with a tremble in her voice. She stopped. The ball was out. I stopped because it was out. Her frustration echoed through the stadium, but the umpire remained unmoved. The decision stood. From across the court, Goff shook her head, almost in disbelief. "Play the point," she said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Nothing was out. You stopped early." It wasn't yelled, but the tone carried weight, hard, final, and dismissive. Gulubich stepped back, her chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. The crowd sensed a shift. Something invisible had snapped. Every point that followed felt heavier. Crowd murmurs grew louder. Every long rally had a dripping undertone of tension. Golubich's frustration was no longer hidden. It was written plainly on her face, in the sharpness of her movements, in the way she kept glancing at the umpire as if begging for fairness. And then it happened, the moment the cameras would replay thousands of times. Gulubich missed a shot by inches and immediately turned back to the umpire, her voice cracking. "This is unbelievable. You're letting her cheat me." Her words weren't screamed, but they were sharp enough to cut through the entire arena. The crowd gasped as Goff instantly reacted, not with anger, but with a look of pure disbelief. "Cheat?" she repeated, eyebrows raised. "No, absolutely not." But Gulubich wasn't backing down. She stood at the baseline, gripping her racket so tightly her knuckles went white. That point changed the entire match. Everyone saw it. Every single person here knows. Goff walked toward the net, jaw clenched, trying to stay composed. "It's not my job to call the lines for you," she said. "You stopped. That's on you." The tension between the two players became so thick, so electric, that even the commentators fell silent for a moment. Fans leaned forward, witnessing a rivalry being born in real time. Golubich's hands trembled, her breathing shook. This wasn't just frustration, it was heartbreak mixed with disbelief, boiling into something sharper. And though neither of them knew it yet, this was the moment the story would explode far beyond the court. This was the spark that turned a simple disagreement into a global controversy, the beginning of a narrative that no one could contain. This was where everything started to unravel. The moment Golubic walked toward her chair during the changeover, it was clear she was barely holding herself together. Her shoulders were tight, her jaw locked, and every breath looked like it carried the weight of the unfairness she believed she had just experienced.
The crowd, sensing the emotional storm brewing inside her, went silent, waiting, watching. And then the cameras caught it. A single, shaky exhale, a trembling wipe of her eyes, a moment where frustration broke through her calm exterior. Gulobich wasn't just upset, she was unraveling. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees, staring at the ground as if replaying the disputed point in her head on loop. Her racket hung loosely from her hand, her lips trembled. She whispered something, too soft for the microphones to pick up, but the look on her face said everything. Disbelief mixed with betrayal. Across the court, Coco Gauff kept bouncing a ball, trying to stay locked in, but even she couldn't ignore the intensity of the moment. She glanced over several times, her expression shifting between confusion and discomfort. Whether Gauff wanted it or not, the narrative forming around them had already taken on a life of its own. The commentators spoke cautiously, their voices low and heavy. Gulobich is clearly devastated. She feels something was taken from her. This is going to spark debate. None of them knew how right they were. As play resumed, Gulobich's emotions spilled straight into her performance. Every shot she hit carried a sharpness, a kind of desperate aggression that hadn't been there before. She chased every ball like she was trying to claw back something that had been stolen. But frustration is a dangerous partner in tennis. Unforced errors started piling up. Her timing slipped, her footwork faltered, her patience evaporated. Each mistake only deepened the boil inside her. At one point, she smacked a ball into the net and immediately spun toward the umpire. "This is unbelievable!" she shouted again, her voice crying again. The crowd reacted instantly, some gasping, others murmuring, all fully consumed by the unfolding emotional drama. The umpire responded calmly, "Please focus on the play." But Gulobich wasn't listening anymore. She was fighting ghosts of the point she lost, of the fairness she felt denied, of the disbelief that this could be happening on such a big stage. Then came the moment that turned into the frame-frozen thumbnail for countless social media posts. Gulobich wiping tears from her face as she walked back to the baseline, trying desperately to gather herself before the next serve. She shook her head repeatedly as if trying to convince herself that the match was still salvageable. But the truth was undeniable. Coco Gauff had regained complete control, playing with a focus sharpened by the tension. She moved with quick, clean precision. Every winner she hit felt like a statement, calm, controlled, and unbothered by the emotional chaos unfolding on the other side of the net. And with each passing point, Gulobich's grip on the match slipped further away. The cameras kept rolling, the crowd kept watching, and the controversy kept growing, feeding on every glare, every tear, every tight-lipped exchange. Nobody knew it yet, but this meltdown was about to explode online, bigger and louder than anyone could have predicted. This wasn't just a match anymore. This was a crisis spiraling towards something even more dramatic. When the final point of the match ended, the crowd didn't cheer with the usual excitement. Instead, the stadium buzzed with a strange mix of confusion, shock, and unanswered questions. Goff lifted her racket stiffly, acknowledging the crowd, but even she seemed unsure of how to react. And on the opposite side of the court, Golubic stood frozen, her face flushed, her breathing uneven. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of what came next. As they approached the net for the handshake, cameras zoomed in instantly, anticipating something, anything, after the emotional chaos that had unfolded. Goff reached out first, keeping her posture controlled. Golubic hesitated, just for a split second. But in a high-profile match like this, a split second was more than enough to send shockwaves across the internet. Their hands touched, but the handshake was stiff, short, and painfully tense. Goff muttered something, too low to distinguish, but Golubic's reaction said everything. She pulled her hand back sharply, took a step back, and shot a look that would later become the center of countless screenshots and slow-motion analyses. A look filled with frustration and accusation. Reporters in the front row immediately sensed something brewing. They raised their cameras higher, zooming in as Golubic approached the umpire once more, her voice tight, shaky, and barely contained. You saw what happened. You let her take the point. You let her. The umpire repeated the same calm, rehearsed response. The call stands. Please respect the decision. Golubic scoffed, shaking her head, tears forming again. Respect? You want respect after this? Her voice wasn't loud, but the microphones picked it up clearly enough. The crowd reacted instantly. Whispers, gasps, stunned murmurs. Goff, now walking toward her chair, turned around sharply. Her eyes narrowed, jaw clenched. You lost the point. Stop blaming me. That one line injected gasoline into an already burning fire. Golubic spun toward her, disbelief painted across her face. You knew it was out! You knew! Goff didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't move closer. She simply said, play the point. That's the rule. Those 5 words hit harder than a scream. The entire arena felt the tension spike all over again. 2 players, standing meters apart, locked in an invisible battle, one fueled by heartbreak, the other frustration at being accused of something she believed she hadn't done. Security and WTA officials approached quietly, forming a subtle but unmistakable presence around the players, not intervening, but ready. Golubic tightened her grip on her bag, her shoulders trembling. She wasn't just angry anymore. She looked defeated, broken, overwhelmed by what she felt was injustice on the biggest stage of her career. As she walked off the court, the cameras kept chasing her, zooming in on every tear, every expression, every tremor in her hands. Goff exited shortly after, but unlike Golubic, she didn't look shaken. She looked annoyed, irritated, done with the entire situation. And that contrast, Golubic in tears, Goff unbothered, was the spark that would set the internet ablaze. Comments exploded. Clips went viral. Narratives twisted into every possible direction. The courtside confrontation was only the beginning. The real storm was about to hit online. The match had ended, but online, it was just beginning. Within 10 minutes, the first clip hit Twitter. Within 20, it had already crossed 100,000 views. By the end of the hour, it was everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, even Facebook groups that normally cared more about cooking than tennis. And every upload carried the same electrifying caption. Did Coco Gauff cheat? Gulubic breakdown, the truth behind the point. Umpire scandal? The internet didn't wait for facts. It didn't want explanations. It wanted drama. And this match delivered it in waves. The clip that started the firestorm was the emotional moment from the changeover. Gulubic hunched over, wiping tears, whispering to herself as commentators marveled at her devastation. The footage exploded across TikTok, with dramatic edits, slow music, and red circles drawn around her trembling hands. Then came the raw courtside audio, Gulobic's voice cracking as she told the umpire, "You let her cheat me." That one sentence became the center of the digital universe. People clipped it, slowed it down, zoomed in, remixed it, captioned it, and debated it like it was a courtroom case. Team Gulubic formed instantly. Team Gauff formed even louder. And the battlefield? Every corner of the internet. Gulubic supporters insisted the ball was clearly out. They posted freeze frames with blurry yellow pixels and arrows pointing at the line. They wrote long threads filled with rage, claiming Gauff took advantage of Gulobic's pause and stole the point. Gauff supporters, on the other hand, clapped back hard. She stopped. That's her fault. That's not cheating. That's competition. Gulubic is blaming her opponent instead of playing. The arguments turned so heated that some threads were locked within minutes. Sports journalists quickly jumped in, trying to calm the fire, but their attempts failed miserably. Every article titled, "Here's what happened actually," was swarmed with angry comments accusing them of bias. Even former players began chiming in. Some sympathized with Gulubic. Others defended Gauff with bulletproof conviction. But the moment that sent the drama to an entirely new level came when a slow-motion, zoomed-in video claiming to show the exact disputed ball hit 5 million views overnight. It didn't matter that the footage was shaky, over-edited, and likely inaccurate. People treated it like gospel. Memes flooded the timeline, fan accounts took sides, tennis influencers made 60-second breakdown videos that racked up millions of likes. And then something unexpected happened. Gauff's post-match tweet, simple, calm, just 2 words. I played. That tweet detonated the internet. Some called it iconic. Some called it dismissive. Some said it proved everything. Gulobich, meanwhile, stayed silent. Her social media accounts didn't post a single word. But silence only fueled the fire. People assumed she was devastated, hiding, or preparing to speak out. One thing was clear. This was no longer a tennis story. This was a viral storm spiraling out of control. And the world was waiting, breathless, for the first official statement. For nearly 24 hours, silence sat over the controversy like a ticking time bomb. Fans waited. Journalists refreshed their feeds. Commentators speculated endlessly. Everyone expected Golubic to speak first, to cry, to defend, to justify, to explain. But she remained silent. And when silence drags on too long, it becomes louder than words. Meanwhile, Coco Gauff moved with the calm of someone who believed she had nothing to prove. She went to practice, posed for photos with fans, and even shared a short clip laughing with her team. But that calmness only fueled the narrative. Was she too relaxed, too unbothered, too dismissive? The storm reached its peak when the WTA finally announced that an official review of the match footage was underway. That single sentence caused the tennis world to freeze. Comments exploded. Fans demanded transparency. Both sides claimed victory before the review even began. But everything changed when Golubic finally broke her silence. Her statement didn't come through a press conference or a long interview. It came through a single Instagram story. A black screen, white text, posted without warning. And it said, "I know what I saw." Nothing more. No explanation, no apology, no accusations. Just 6 words dripping with certainty and quiet defiance. Those 6 words hit harder than any full-page statement ever could. Within minutes, screenshots spread across the internet like wildfire. People zoomed in, overanalyzed the font, the tone, the timing. Fan pages declared it proof. Critics called it vague. Some said she was emotional. Others said she was standing up for her truth. But it wasn't just the message that caused chaos. It was the timing. Because just 2 hours later, the WTA's review results came out. And the ruling shocked everyone. According to the official statement, the disputed point was deemed unconclusive due to lack of clear camera angles. They couldn't confirm the ball was out. They couldn't confirm it was in. The call stood. In other words, Golubic lost the point. Goff did nothing wrong. The internet split into 2 violent halves again. Team Goff celebrated hard. Team Golubic doubled down even harder. But the real explosion came from what happened next. Goff posted a response. Longer this time, confident, controlled, but with an unmistakable edge. She wrote, "I respect emotions, but I won the point by the rules. I stopped for nothing." Those words hit Golubic's fan base like a punch. They accused Goff of being arrogant, cold, emotionless. They said she lacked empathy. Goff's supporters fired back instantly. She's just telling the truth. She's defending herself. Golubic started the accusations. For hours, arguments raged across every platform. Even players began weighing in again, defending one side or the other. But the real moment came near midnight when Golubic posted one more message. Short, sharp, unmistakably emotional. Someday, the truth will show. 3 hours later, hashtags began trending worldwide. Hashtag Team Golubic, hashtag Team Coco, hashtag cheated or not, hashtag the point everyone saw. This wasn't just a controversy anymore. It had turned into a war of narratives.
In the end, this entire controversy became something far larger than a single disputed point. It became a mirror, reflecting pressure, emotion, pride, and the raw vulnerability that even the toughest athletes try to hide. Gulobich stood by her truth, shaken but unbroken. Goff defended her integrity, calm but undeniably fierce. And the tennis world? It watched, argued, exploded, and refused to look away. One thing became crystal clear. This rivalry isn't ending here. Not after the accusations, not after the statements, not after the world chose sides. The next time these two step on the court together, something unforgettable is guaranteed to happen. Because controversies fade, but rivalries never die. If you want more explosive tennis breakdowns, raw emotional moments, and unfiltered rivalry stories just like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss when the next dramatic chapter drops. Because, trust me, the story is far from over. Subscribe now. The real drama hasn't even started yet.